Welcome to 10maxxing, what to expect from the cheapest goods optic. This is the SWFA 10x by 42. I think I paid like $230. Get them on sale, they're good to go. All right, so there's a lot of good optics and there's a lot of good features. There are good features that this scope doesn't have. There's no illuminated reticle, there's no Christmas tree. We'll talk about all that later, but the fact of the matter is this scope has the basics covered. And every good scope is going to have every feature this scope has. You can add to this, but you can't really get away with much less. All right, so let's talk about the features of this scope. First off, we have magnification, right? It's a 10x. That means that it's going to magnify it 10 times. And the 42 means the size of the lens in the front. That's really not that important. Just get something that starts with a 4. You'll be just fine. Or just buy this exact scope. All right, so parts of this optic. You're going to get magnification and a good image. It's good enough, it's bright enough, it's clear enough. You're going to get turrets. So this one makes the X go up and down. The crosshairs go up and down. This one makes it go left and right. You need these features on a scope. You really can't not have them. What else do we have? We have a reticle in there. I hope I can film this well for you. But it's got a really nice reticle. And this gets the basics covered. If you actually want to shoot well, you're going to need something that you can measure with. It'll be MOA or MRAD. MRAD's, well, it's better, but don't worry about that. Well, that's kind of hard to film. Hopefully we'll do better later. Any road, you need something like that. They got different types, but you have to have something you can measure with. This is a good one. It's got a parallax adjustment right here. And basically what it does is it puts the crosshairs on the target. If your crosshairs are right on your target, you can move your head around like a crazy person, and the crosshairs and the target move together. And if you have your parallax set wrong when you move your head, then the crosshairs are going to go wildly in different directions. And so that's pretty important for some people, and it's not that important for other people. Later on, we'll maybe try to get a demonstration, but you can kind of just set it in the middle and forget about it. I know a really good shooter named Job, and that's what he does. And I don't think it's as important as people make it out to be, but good scopes have it, especially if you want to shoot past 500. What else does this scope offer? Well, we know how to make 10x scopes, right? It's not a difficult scope to make. It's tough, it's reliable, it's a package you can trust. Get it out of the box, and if it's not broke, throw it on there, shoot it 100 times, and if it's still good after that, it'll probably be good for the next 10 years. It's good to go. So you need to have all these things on your optic. Your optic needs to have magnification. It needs to have turrets you can trust, where you can click them up and click them back. It needs to have a reticle that you can measure with. Probably want parallax. It needs to be tested and tough. So that's what you get. That's what's in the box. Now, a bigger question is, what do we actually need to make this thing work? So we got a lot of stuff here. We didn't really talk about what everything does, but when we start getting ready to make this happen, what else are we going to need? I think you're going to need a bag. This isn't like an actual properly packed bag for combat. It's just a placeholder to show you on the video, but it's a bag. Number one, you're going to need stuff with you wherever you're going. Number two, you're going to want to shoot off the bag. What's in the bag? 5 things. Water, a picnic, so you got something to eat. You got some ammo. You got to have extra ammo. You have an individual first aid kit, IFAK, and you have a poncho. Those 5 things will take you pretty far. You need to have those things. And if you have those things, you can consider your bag mostly packed. Maybe you got stuff in your area or something like that, but you can start there. All right, so we need in order to make this scope work, we need to have a bag. We need to also have a gun. Surprise, the scope's no good until you put it on a gun. Well, what is the difference between a good gun and a bad gun? Well, you can carry a good gun. You can get shots off with it. You're not scared to shoot it. You're not thinking about the cost of the ammo. You're just ready to shoot, right? And you need to have ammo. Not only do you need ammo in the gun, you need extra ammo. What's the difference in good and bad ammo? Well, good ammo is going to work on your target. These are soft points, 150 grain. and they'll do a good job. They're accurate enough. This ammo is kind of crappy, but it's still good enough for what we're doing here today. I think that a lot of people maybe get confused about ammo. It's better to have ammo that kills stuff. It needs to work on the target you want to shoot. So what else do we need to make this optic work? We're going to need dope. You probably need a dope card. Here's the one I use. We're going to go into detail about this in a different video, but the basics of it is as the bullet gets farther away, it drops farther and the wind pushes it around, and we want to know how much so we can, deal with it, make shots out farther. This is what I got. It works good for me. We're going to talk about it. So that's what you need to make to make this scope work for you. You're going to need a gun that works. You're going to need a bag. You're going to need good ammo that groups well and kills what you're shooting at. And you need a dope card. So those 4 things will get you pretty far. All right, so let's talk about tips. This is 10maxxing, how to get the most from your scope, right? Well, we got a couple things going on here. I got paint everywhere because I want to know if something moves or breaks. If you look at it careful, you can see that the paint goes between the body of the optic and the mount. If that mount gets loose, or if the scope starts to move around, then we're going to be able to see that real quick. It's not focusing. And we have that everywhere. I've got that on both mounts. I've got it on that little bubble level, which we're going to talk about. And I've got it on the base of the mount too. If something is broke, I really want to know about it. You sometimes see guys at the range chasing their zero all over the place and wondering what's going on. Well, I'll tell you what's going on. It's garbage. You need to find out quick. All right, so what else did I do to make the most out of this kind of crappy scope? Hopefully we can get this to work this time. All right. So you can see here's the reticle, right? And when you look at the target, you see this over it. I didn't zero this in the middle. Come on, cats, act right. I didn't zero it in the middle. I zeroed on that bar. So at 100 yards, you put that bar on it, and it's good to go. For 100-yard shots, you're probably not worried about the exact smallest group. You're probably more worried about speed and about low light performance. And so it does better that way. The other good thing about zeroing this way is that as the distance increases, it becomes more important to deal with wind. And if you zero on the center of the crosshairs, by the time the bullet drops 3 or 5 MRAD, you have walked away from your bar. I'm sorry, the MRAD letters to the left and the right where you should be able to track your wind. If you're shooting down low, you already lost it. But by zeroing on that bar, when the bullet drops, 3 or 5, it becomes easy to look at it because it's closer to where you actually want it. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but I've had really good results this way. And if you think about it, I think you can understand where we come from. What else do we do to this? So I marked these turrets so that I can look and see really easily if it's pointed in the right direction. I did something with a file up here so I can feel it in the dark, and I put some paint on it so it's real easy to see both of them. And I did that just to make sure that it's actually where I think it is. What else did I do to this optic? I put a bubble level on it. That will, well, if you actually want to correct something, your corrections are going to be wrong if you're shooting too far and it's tilted. If you're just mag dumping paper at 10 yards, it's not a big deal. But if you actually want to make a correction, the gun needs to be level. Otherwise, your turrets are tracking off in 3 and 6 dimensions instead of 1. So that's what I did. I put a bubble level on it. All right, so here are some tips that I consider bad. These are bad tips that I think you should avoid. First bad tip. So what I did here is I marked these so that I can tell where they're pointed at, and I can get them back where they're going. I can get back to 0. If you dial up and then come back, you want to know that you're actually back on 0. Otherwise, you get all kind of screwed up. You can get something. You get a little kit of washers, and you basically take that turret off. It's just got screws in it. You're going to take them off anyway. And you pack it full of washers, and that way when you come down, you can go like that, and it'll hit those washers and it'll stop. A couple bad things about it I don't like. Number one, it's not that accurate. It'll be over here, it'll be back and forth. So that's no good. Number two, I got to pay for the washers, and I don't want to do that. And number three, it exerts force on these, and it'll wear your crap out faster, and it could potentially break something. So spending money to have to spend money doesn't appeal to me. I don't want to do that. So I didn't buy the washers. Another bad tip, I think, is bipods. I think bipods are kind of dumb. You can only get about that high off the ground with most of them anyway. If we're talking about the big bipods, yeah, okay. But for most of those dinky little bipods, just use your bag. You already have a bag. You're already carrying a bag. If you're trying to shoot right, you already took your bag off. Why don't you throw it down in front of you? If you put it in front of you, you have a more stable platform. You have better camouflage. If you have a camo bag, it'll break up your outline and do a lot to cover you. And if somebody's shooting at you, then it's got to go through the bag first. And not only that, you can get stuff out of it. You're going to be laying out there for a couple hours looking at stuff. And now it becomes really easy to grab ammo, grab water, grab what you need out of the bag. So I think bipods are dumb. You're spending money to make your gun balance like this. You're going to lose it anyway. And it doesn't do anything that you don't already have the capability for. So I think bipods are bad. And so those are the two bad tips. You can do what you want to do, but I don't see any reason to do that. Tripods are better anyway, but I can't afford it. Anyway, this has been 10maxxing, what to expect from the cheapest good scope. And remember the things you need to make this work. You need the ammo, you need the gun, you need your dope, and you need a bag. Get ready to go outside. All right, everybody, that's the end of this video. Stay tuned for the rest of this series. I think we'll be able to get through everything you need to do, basic long distance shooting, in about 20 or 30 minutes.